Because there is mindfulness and concentration and insight. This is a true Sangha. Because there is harmony, there is a brotherhood, there is a joy, there is peace. I know that a Sangha should be a true Sangha. A true Sangha is a Sangha that has the quality of mindfulness, concentration, insight, peace, harmony, brotherhood, sisterhood. And if my Sangha is a true Sangha, the Buddha is there. So when I breathe out, I greet the Buddha in the Sangha. Dear Buddha, I know you are there, because the true Sangha is there. And the Buddha is not something abstract. It is embodied by the practice of the Sangha. If the Sangha is a true Sangha, then the Buddha is always there. Also the Dharma. So the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha are not something that is far away. It is right here, right now, in every one of us and in our Sangha. Breathing in, I'm aware that the true Sangha is there. Breathing out, I smile to the Buddha in the Sangha. Good morning, dear Sangha. Today is June the 10th, in the year 2009, and we are in the new hamlet of Plum during our 21-day retreat. The teaching on love in the Buddhist tradition is very clear. We all need love, and love makes us happy. And if love does not make us happy, it's not love. It's something else. But the word love has so many meanings. We have abused the word love. When we say, I love hamburgers, the word love does not mean anything. It means I like to eat. So you have to heal the word, because the words can get sick. They can lose their meaning, and that is why from time to time we have to heal the words, to desintoxic the words, and to make them healthy again. So love is a wonderful thing. In the Buddhist teaching, to love is to be able to bring happiness, to offer happiness. To relieve suffering. To offer joy. And to transcend all kind of separation, barrier. Maitri, metta, is the first element of love. Maitri has connection with mitra. Mitra means friend. So love is friendship. And that friendship should bring about happiness. Otherwise, what is the use of having friendship? To be a friend means to offer happiness. So if love does not make happiness, does not offer happiness, love make the other person cry all the time, that's not love, that's not Maitri. That's the opposite. Maitri has been translated in English as loving kindness. Từ. Loving kindness should be able to offer happiness. So true love must have that element. And you don't just love another person. You have to love yourself. Because the self-love is the foundation for the love of another person. If you don't know how to love yourself, to offer yourself happiness, how can you be able to love another person and offer him or her happiness? You don't know anything about happiness. How can you offer happiness? So live in such a way that brings you joy, happiness. And then you'll be able to offer another person joy and happiness. And we have learned already that happiness has something to do with suffering. If you don't understand suffering, you don't know what happiness is either. So understanding suffering is a very foundation of having happiness. We have talked a lot about that already in the past week, during the past week. We have learned that a good practitioner knows how to deal with the suffering inside. A good practitioner knows how to recognize a painful feeling, how to embrace it tenderly, how to bring a relief. That's love already. If you don't know how to handle a painful emotion, a painful feeling in you, how you can help another person to do that? So self-love is crucial for the love of another person. So a good practitioner always learn how to recognize the pain, the painful feeling and emotions in him or in her, how to not to fight them, but to accept them, to embrace them, and to transform to get a relief. That is already love. And that is the second element of love, which is karuna. Karuna has been translated into compassion. Karuna is the capacity of relieving the suffering, of removing the suffering, of transforming the suffering. You love someone, you see him suffer so much, and you are motivated by doing something in order for that person to stop suffering. But if you don't know how to handle the suffering in you, how can you help the other person to handle the suffering in him or in her? So that is why a good practitioner always learn how to handle the suffering in him, in her first. And the Buddha's teaching is very clear. Whenever there is a painful feeling and emotion like despair, like anger arising, you should be able to be there for it, not to fight, but to recognize it as existing. And you learn how to embrace it, accept it, and you use mindfulness and insight in order to understand its nature. And then you can get a relief, and then finally you can liberate yourself from your pain, your sorrow. This is what we have to learn as a practitioner. And the Buddha is very clear about this. His teaching is very clear, very concrete. he does not just say, you have to love, but he indicates how to love. He does not just say, transform your suffering. He tells us exactly how the steps in order to transform the suffering. And if you are to give a Dhamma talk, you have to give the kind of Dhamma talk that can help people see concrete steps in bringing love and in removing suffering. So a good practitioner practices karuna for himself. He has to be compassionate to himself. He has to recognize the suffering, the pain, the difficulties within himself, and devote time to deal with that and transform that. And because he knows how to do that for himself, he will know how to do that to help another person. So to love oneself is very crucial for loving another person. If you don't know how to take care of yourself, if you don't know how to love yourself, how can you take care of another person? To love another person. The good practitioner practicing Maitri know how to offer himself or herself joy, happiness, pleasant feelings, joyful feelings. And one of our Dhamma talks during last week, we learned that the Buddha in the Sutra on Mindful Breathing teaches us as how to bring in a feeling of joy, a feeling of happiness. Using mindfulness, concentration, you can always bring in a feeling of joy and happiness. You don't need to use any money. You don't need to go to the shopping center. If you know the art of releasing, the art of mindfulness, the art of concentration, the art of insight, and then you can bring a feeling of joy and happiness at any time. Joy, mudita, is the third element of true love. If love does not bring joy, why you have to love? If love brings on only tears, why should we love? So it's very clear that true love should have joy, and you have to provide you with joy. And there must be ways in order to bring joy to yourself. And if you know how to bring joy to yourself, you know how to bring joy to him and to her and to the world. It's so simple. And mudita has been translated by joy, or sympathetic joy, or altruistic joy. I don't like that. Because if you don't have joy, how can you offer joy? So joy is for you, but for me also. So a true practitioner knows how to bring joy to himself and herself. So don't talk about altruistic joy. Joy is just joy. If you are really joyful, your joy is healthy, and then that benefits other people. If you are not joyful, you are not fresh, you are not smiling, that's not for our profit. So if you are inhabited by joy and freshness, although you have done nothing, but we profit from you. So joy is just joy. So the Buddha advised us to generate the energy of joy, of happiness, of compassion to us. And the first recommendation made by Buddha is to leave it behind. There are things you can release. There are things you can let go. And that alone can bring joy and happiness. And this is an art. This is the joy and the happiness that are born from releasing, from letting go. There are things inside of us. There are things outside of us that we want to grasp. And if we have enough insight, we can let them go. And suddenly you have a lot of joy. So the first tactic adopted by true practitioners is to learn how to release, how to let go. One of the examples we like to use in Plum Village is someone leaving the big city on the weekend to go to the countryside. The city is noisy, polluted, and we are tired. The city does not smell very good, a lot of smoke. The air is not so good, so on Friday afternoon after work you want to get out. It may take you 45 or 1 hour to get out of the city. And after that you begin to drive among rolling hills. You begin to see the sky, the trees. You begin to hear the birds and you breathe the fresh air. And you feel so happy. You feel liberated. If you have not left the city behind, how can you have that joy? So leaving the city behind is a condition of happiness. If you are caught in something, especially when you think that something is so crucial to you, so you get caught in that, and you continue to suffer, and you still believe that you need that. But in fact, that may be an obstacle for your happiness. So if you have enough insight, you have enough courage to let it go. And after that, you feel free. You feel free. Another example, your idea of happiness. This is not a material thing. This is a mental thing. Each of us has an idea about happiness. We think that we have to get this in order to be really happy. We think that we have to get that in order to be happy. We think we have to get rid of this in order to be happy. We have many ideas. I want that diploma, I want that position, I want this and that. And you have an idea as how to be happy. And a whole nation might do the same thing. Whole nation might think that this path of politics, this ideology is the only way to be happy. Suppose you are a communist and you think that Marxism, communism is the only way to happiness. And you don't accept any other ideology. So you have a fixed idea, you have a conviction that Marxism is the only way. Or if you are a Buddhist and you think that Buddhism is the only way, and you get caught in the idea of Buddhism. But fortunately, the Buddha tells you that Buddhism is made only of non-Buddhist elements. And during the last week, we only spoke about one thing: to release any kind of ideas, of notions, of views, including the views of Buddhism. So you have an idea about happiness, and maybe you have not been able, if you have not been able to be happy, maybe because of that idea. Release that idea and happiness can come more easily. Suppose there are many doors open to happiness. If you open every door, and then happiness have many ways to come to you. But the situation is that you have closed all the doors except one. And that is why happiness cannot come, because that door, happiness cannot come through. So, don't close any door. Open all the doors. Don't just commit yourself to one idea of happiness. Removing the idea of happiness you have, and then happiness can come this afternoon. So releasing here is releasing an idea. And many of us are caught in our idea of how we can be truly happy. So if you are a good practitioner, you sit down and you re-examine your idea of happiness. Are attached to a number of things that we think crucial to our well-being. Although we have suffered a lot because of them, but we do not have the courage to release. We thought that it could not be safe for us to release it. But in fact, the truth may be that we have continued to suffer just because of that. That may be a person. That may be a material thing. That may be a position in society. That may be anything. We have been thinking that without that, we will not be safe. And that is why we have been caught by it. We need real insight. And that insight will bring us courage. And only with that courage that we can release it. And finally we find free. We feel free. And happiness is possible. So everyone has to decide for himself, for herself. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Many of us get caught in things that we think to be crucial to us. We are not a free person because of that. That is why joy and happiness can be born from releasing, letting go. There's a story I found in the sutras. One day the Buddha was sitting with his monks. They have just finished their lunch together in mindfulness. Suddenly a farmer came by. He suffered so much, he said, "Dear brothers, have you seen my cows going by this way? I had 5 cows, but I don't know why this morning they have all run away. And I have 2 acres of sesame seed. And this year the insect ate up all the sesames. There's nothing left. I think I'm going to commit suicide. I have nothing left." The Buddha, with compassion, looked at him and said, "Dear friend, we have been sitting here for more than 1 hour. We have not seen any cows going this way. So please look for them in the other direction." So the farmer left, and the Buddha turned around and looked at his monks. A few dozens of monks sitting with him. And he smiled. And he said, "My dear friends, you are very lucky, because you don't have any cows." And these cows represent what you are caught in. So the practice is how to learn how to release the cows. So sit down and breathe in and out in mindfulness and concentration, and identify your cows. Call your cows by their true name. And to see whether you have the capacity of releasing any of them. The more you release, the happier you become, if they are cows. So cow releasing is an art, is a practice. And that idea of happiness you have is a strong cow. It needs great insight and courage in order to release that. And with freedom, happiness can come very easily. Suppose you want something very much, and you think that if you don't get that something, happiness will not be possible. You get caught in that idea. Because in reality, there are those who don't have that, but they are perfectly happy. Why not you? So there must be insight. So it is insight, right view, that saves us. And in the Buddhist tradition, we speak about salvation, emancipation, by insight, not by grace. So letting go, releasing is one technique that can bring about joy and happiness. Mindfulness is another method that bring about joy and happiness. Suppose you are a young person. You can practice hiking, you can jump, you can run, you can do many things. You are full of energy. So being young is a wonderful thing. There are those of us who cannot do like that anymore. We are too old to do so. So you breathe in and you feel yourself full of energy, young. Breathing in, I know that I'm still young. And that brings happiness. Mindfulness. Breathing in, I know I'm aware of my eyes. Breathing out, I smile to my eyes. For non-practitioners, it may be something silly. But this is that can bring insight and happiness. When I breathe in, I focus my attention on my eyes. And insight comes that my eyes are still good enough. My eyes are still in good condition. It's wonderful to have eyes still in good conditions, because you need only to open your eyes in order for you to enter into a paradise of forms and colors. Spring is there. There is a paradise there. And because you have eyes in good conditions, you can enter the paradise easily. You don't have to make any effort. Just open your eyes. For those of us who have lost our eyesight, the paradise is no longer available. And our deepest wish is to recover our eyesight in order to see the paradise again. But now we still have eyes in good condition. So breathing in, I'm aware of my eyes. They are in good conditions. So in the insight comes that you have a condition of happiness that is there. And you need to open your eyes in order to make the paradise of forms and colors available. And that is mindfulness. Mindfulness brings joy. Mindfulness brings happiness. Mindfulness tells you that you are still young. Mindfulness tells you that your eyes are in good conditions. Breathing in, I'm aware of my heart. You recognize your heart, and you know that your heart still functions normally. And it's very crucial. It's very wonderful to have a heart that still functions normally. There are those of us who don't have a heart like that. They are very fearful. They may get a heart attack at any time. They live in fear. We don't have that. So every time we are mindful of our heart, a heart that functions normally, we feel happy. And happiness just comes like that in 1 second with mindfulness. So mindfulness helps us to recognize the many conditions of happiness that are inside of us and around us. And that is why we have to remember that mindfulness is a source of happiness. It's a source of happiness. You don't need money. You don't have to go to the shopping center. You just need mindfulness. You have the capacity of letting go. Now you have the capacity of being mindful. And being mindful, you get in touch with the many conditions of happiness that are already available. There are those of us who have so much conditions to be happy, but we are not happy. Other people envy us. They see us as a happy person, but we are not happy. We have so many conditions of happiness, but we don't recognize them, we don't treasure them. And that is why sit down, use a sheet of paper and write down the conditions of happiness that you are having. You need one page. But after having filled one page, you need another page. And after 2 pages, you think that you still have other conditions of happiness. You continue on. You need many, many pages in order to write down that. So you recognize the conditions of happiness that you have. And if you need, you can ask a friend. Dear friend, what conditions of happiness I am having now? Please tell me, I forget. It's like a game, but this is meditation. You come back to your condition and you recognize every condition of happiness that you are having. My eye is in good condition. My heart still functions normally. And thousands and tens of thousands more of conditions like that. And yet we are not happy if we don't recognize them. So mindfulness is to bring your mind back to your body, to be fully present in the here and the now, and recognize that it's wonderful, this world. It's wonderful, the wonders of life. I am here. This is the kingdom of God. This is the pure land of Buddha. I can spend every second, every minute to enjoy. And happiness may be more than you can handle. Happiness may be more than you can handle. It's like a bakery. You go into the bakery and you are free to eat because you are embarrassed. You don't know how to begin. So, please remember, mindfulness is a source of happiness. If you have mindfulness, you recognize the many conditions of happiness that you already have. You don't have to run and get some more conditions. Stop running. You have enough conditions of happiness. The French have a song on that. Why you have to wait? Why don't be happy right now? What are you waiting for? You can be happy right now. Qu'est-ce qu'on attend pour être heureux? Qu'est-ce qu'on attend pour être heureux? Can you sing the song? Go ahead. We have to sing that more often. You don't have to wait. You can celebrate now. Celebrate life and happiness, right? And every step, every in-breath can be a celebration of happiness. Mindfulness is that. And that is why in a practice center, what we do every day is to cultivate mindfulness. And then we have other sources of happiness like concentration. If we are mindful on something and then we begin to meditate on it, and the concentration increase the quality of happiness. Suppose you have a good cup of tea. Or suppose you are contemplating a beautiful sunrise. And suppose you are mindful and concentrated. When you are mindful, when you are concentrated, you are truly there, and you concentrate on your tea becomes something very real. And the time of tea drinking makes you so happy. Because you are not disturbed. Your mind is not in the past or in the future. Your mind is not in your projects. Your mind is focused entirely on the tea. That's concentration. Tea is the object of your concentration. That's why drinking tea in that moment can make you very happy. And the more you are concentrated, the happier you become. And that is why concentration is also a source of happiness. And when you contemplate the beautiful sunrise, you are not distracted by thinking about the past, the future. You are fully present. You are concentrated. And the more concentrated you become, the more the beauty of the beautiful sunrise is revealed to you. So concentration is a source of happiness. And we used to think of money as a source of happiness. We used to think of power as a source of happiness. But we forget that we have many true sources of happiness in us that we don't know how to use. And also, insight, understanding, insight. When you get insight, you can be very happy because insight always liberates you. If you are inhabited by fear, you cannot be happy. You cannot be joyful. If you are inhabited by worries or desire, craving, you are not peaceful. You cannot be happy. But when you get insight, fear is removed, craving is removed, you are free, and true happiness comes to you through joy. And that is why the practice of meditation, releasing mindfulness, concentration, and insight, is the practice that can bring joy and happiness. And that is the practice of love. The practice of releasing is the practice of love. The practice of mindfulness is the practice of love. True love. The word compassion does not reflect very well karuna. If we analyze, we see that prefix kam means together, and passion here means to suffer. To be compassionate is to suffer together with the other person. But karuna does not mean that you have to suffer. Karuna means the capacity of relieving the suffering. And maybe the opposite. Relieving the suffering in you, relieving the suffering in the other person. And you have to got that kind of capacity, the power to relieve compassion. If you don't know the practice of mindful breathing, if you don't know the practice of holding tenderly your pain and your sorrow, if you don't know how to look deeply into the nature of suffering, and then you cannot transform, you cannot bring a relief. And if you do, you don't have to suffer. And you don't have to suffer with him or with her. In fact, you and her, both of you are practicing in order to remove and transform the suffering. Suppose you are a physician, a doctor, and a doctor should have compassion. Hopefully. And when a patient comes and complaining of the pain, of the fear, and even if you are a good doctor, do you have to suffer with that person in order to be kind to him or to her? You don't have to suffer with him or her, because you know the way how to help him or her not to suffer. So if you are practicing love, true love, you don't have to suffer with him or with her. And you know how to help her, to help him to suffer less. So compassion is not really the word that can translate karuna. Karuna is the capacity of removing the suffering, transforming the suffering, bringing a relief to the suffering. And doing so, you don't have to suffer. In fact, you suffer less. And you make him or her suffer less. We have to distinguish between the willingness to love and the capacity to love. You might be motivated by the willingness to love. But the more you love, the more you make him or her suffer. So the willingness to love is not love yet. And many fathers love their sons and daughters. And they impose on their sons and daughters a lot of things, and they make their children suffer very much in the name of love. Because they are not capable of understanding their sons and their daughters. And unable to understand the suffering and the difficulties of your children, the more you love them, the more you destroy them. And that is why you have to ask yourself the question as whether you are really loving them. To love means to have the time to look deeply, to understand the suffering, the anguish, the difficulties. And when understanding is there, love will be true love. What you say, what you will do for him, for her, is true love. So love here does not mean the intention, the willingness to make happy, but the capacity. And that capacity of loving, you have to learn, you have to cultivate. Address yourself. Recognize the suffering in you. Recognize them. Embrace them. Transform them. And you are loving yourself. And based on that experience, you are going to succeed in helping another person to do the same. Recognizing the suffering, transform the suffering, and then bringing a feeling of joy and happiness. All these things are very concrete, not just talking. The fourth element of true love is upeksha, sa. And this is the foundation of true love. In true love, there is no longer any discrimination. In true love, happiness is no longer an individual matter. You and him, you are the same person. His suffering is your own suffering. His happiness is your own happiness. Your joy is his joy. No longer any barrier, any frontier between the lover and the one who is loved. And true love has this kind of element. The abolishment of self. There is no longer any self. Lover and loved one are one. When you love yourself, the lover is you and yourself is you. And when you love him, you are him and he is you. And happiness is no longer an individual matter. Happiness is happiness for both, for everyone. And suffering also, suffering is no longer an individual matter. There's no more distinction between the lover and the one who is loved. And equanimity has been used to translate upeksha, but I would like to use the word inclusiveness. In true love, you don't exclude anyone. And if your love is true love, that will benefit everyone, not only humans, but also animals, minerals, and vegetables. If that is really true love. To love one person is an opportunity for you to love everyone and every living species. And you are in the good direction. That is true love. But if you love someone and you get caught, and you get cut off, that's not true love. There's a song saying, I love you, I need you. I love you, I need you. So it seems that loving in that context is just to satisfy your need. The other person is to fulfill your need. You need the other person. Without the other person, you cannot survive. You say, you think that this the language of love. Darling, I cannot survive without you. I need you. And that has to do with our original need, our original desire. Our original desire is to survive. As a tender baby just born, you are helpless. You are helpless. You have arms and feet, but you cannot move. You cannot go anywhere. You cannot do anything to yourself. Especially you have gone through moments of danger, the moment of your birth. They cut the umbilical cord. You come from a very comfortable place to a hard place. And you have expelled the liquid in your lungs in order to breathe in the first breath. So dangerous. You don't know what they are talking about. You don't know the language of man yet. You are just a few days old. But every time you hear the steps, the sound of steps coming close, you are happy because someone will bring you milk, will feed you, will bring you warmth and so on. You need someone. You cannot survive without someone. And that's the original need. The original need, the original love. You have arms and feet, but you cannot go anywhere. You cannot do anything for yourself. You are completely helpless. You need another person. That may be mommy or daddy. But you begin to distinguish. You can identify mommy by the smell. You can recognize the sound of her steps. And you are lying there hoping to hear that step, that sound of the step. That's your hope. And when you are close to your mommy, the smell of that person is so familiar. You fall in love with that smell. You fall in love with that sound. And you fall in love with that shape, that face. That's the first, the original love. And that love is born from your need. Your need. So when I say, I love you, I need you, that's very natural. And now you are looking for a young man to marry. You are looking for a young lady to marry. That is a continuation of that original love. Still the belief, that belief is still alive. Without someone else, I cannot survive. That's a childish, that's the infant feeling. It's a real feeling, and that feeling is still alive until this day. You are looking for a partner, but the child in you is looking for mommy. The child in you is looking for daddy. So when you are together as a couple, as a young couple, you feel very relaxed. You feel that I'm okay now because I have someone to love, to support me. But the infant in you say, well, I can relax. Mommy is there. Daddy is there. So that feeling of relaxation, of joy, is not exactly because of the presence of the other person, but because of the fact that you can relax. That brings you peace. Because later on, when your relationship with the other person becomes difficult, you cannot relax anymore. And that happiness is no longer there. So the essential is that you can relax, you can be peaceful, and not the presence of another person. And I think kissing, it's interesting to notice that in Asia, when people kiss each other, they use the nose more than the mouth, right? Using the nose we can recognize the person. It's so pleasant. So when we were an infant, the smell of mommy is a wonderful, most wonderful kind of smell in the world, because I need her. So in Asia, when they kiss, they mostly use their nose in order to enjoy the smell of the other person. And that is the continuation of the original desire, the desire to have that person close to us, the desire to hear that steps coming closer and closer. And all day, all night, as an infant, we only hope to hear the sound of the steps and to be able to smell that smell. And I think that kissing by the mouth is a continuation of the sucking of the breast. That is only a continuation. Like Westerners don't use, I don't know, the nose as much as the Asian people. And there is a connection between fear and desire. In fact, fear and desire are just one thing. The original fear and the original desire have leave such a mark in our life. We know that the original fear is that no one will be there to take care of us. I am helpless. I have no means to take care of myself. I am vulnerable. I need someone, otherwise I will die. That is the feeling of the infant. And that continues to survive until today. We are fearful, you continue to worry. If today, as an adult, you continue to be fearful, to feel insecure, not safe, you continue to worry, that is the continuation of the original fear. And together with that fear, there is a desire to have someone that will take care of us, take care of me, someone that can assure my well-being, that can assure my survival. So today, as an adult, when we love someone, look deeply into that nature of love. We continue that kind of desire to have someone so that we can feel safe. And that is only the desire. But true love is not like that. True love can be generated from within, and with true love you can feel complete in yourself. You don't need something outside. And true love is made with 4 elements that we just discussed about. True love is like the sun. It's like a lamp shining. The lamp has kerosene. The lamp has light. the lamp is sufficient by itself, so it offers light. And it offers light for everyone. It does not say that, no, I only want to offer light to this person. When you look at the electric bulb, you see that, well, the light is within, it's complete. And the electric bulb is shining upon us with equanimity, inclusiveness. It does not exclude anyone. And that is the fourth of the four conditions of elements of true love. Equanimity is that. No longer any discrimination. That is the love of the Buddha. Sex is not love. Sex is a instinct of preservation. Every living thing wants to continue into the future. Not only humans, but also animals. They want to continue into the future. And also the vegetable world, the plants, they produce seeds in order to continue them into the future. So having the desire to self-reproduce is a very natural thing. And love is another thing. Love is not sex. Sex is a means to reproduce, to continue. That is something natural with man, with animals, and we should not mix them up. We are not against, we should not be against sex, but we should not mix it with love. True love doesn't have to do with sex. You can perfectly love without sex. So the teaching of the Buddha on true love is very clear. And it is possible for us to cultivate these four elements of true love with the practice of bringing joy and peace and relieving the suffering. The practice of releasing, the practice of being mindful, the practice of being concentrated, the practice of getting insight can handle the suffering inside, can transform the suffering inside, can bring joy and peace. That is love. You don't need another person in order to practice love. You practice love on yourself. And when you succeed, loving another person is something very natural, like the electric bulb or bulb. It will shine. It will make many, many people happy. And you are like a Buddha. You love everyone. You love every species. And your presence in the world is very important, because your presence is the presence of love.